What is optimism? My definition of optimism is believing in something that no one else believes in. You know, in today's shutdown pandemic, I think we need a little optimism. So I want to share with you a story about a boy named Shay. Shay had Down syndrome. But Shay was very optimistic and very trusting, especially of his father. Shay and his father were out walking one day, and they were going by a playground, actually a park, where boys Shay's age were playing a game of baseball. Shay looked at his father and said, "Dad, do you think they would let me play?" Well, his father didn't think many boys would want Shay on their team because he couldn't be of much benefit, but he also knew that if Shay could play, it would certainly boost his feeling of belonging. So the father went over to one of the boys and asked if Shay could play with him. And the boy hesitated for a minute and kind of looked around for some help from teammates, but none were there. So he made the decision himself, and he said, "Well, we're behind by 6 runs, and it's the eighth inning. Sure, Shay can play in our team." Shay was ecstatic, and he hustled over to join his team. Well, his team scored a few runs in the 8th inning, and then in the 9th inning, they scored another run. They had been 6 runs behind, but now all of a sudden, the bases were loaded, and they were behind by 2 runs, so the winning run was on base. But it was Shay's turn to bat, and his father thought, no, surely they're not going to let Shay bat and lose any chance they have of winning the game. But sure enough, out of the dugout came Shay with a bat. He got to the plate, and he had to get some help on how to hold the bat. And of course, his chances of getting a hit were quite nil. But then a strange thing happened. The pitcher took a couple of steps closer to the plate and tossed the ball softly to Shay in an effort to help him maybe make contact with the ball. Shay swung awkwardly and missed, and the pitcher moved a couple of steps closer and tossed the ball even more softly. And miraculously, Shay made contact with the ball. It was just kind of a little dribble out toward the pitcher. The pitcher could have picked it up easily and thrown to first for the final out and the end of the game. But after hesitating for a moment, the pitcher threw the ball way over the first baseman's head out into right field. Shay's teammates then started shouting to him, "Run to first, Shay, run to first." And Shay made his way down to first base awkwardly. He had never in his life made it to first base in a baseball game, but he was on first. And then they started yelling, "Run to second, Shay, run to second." So Shay headed down to second. Now the right fielder by this time had picked up the ball and could easily have thrown the ball to the second baseman, who would tag Shay out to end the game. But he understood what the pitcher had intended. So instead, he took the ball and threw it way over the third baseman's head. Shay made it to second, and at that point, the opposing shortstop came over to Shay, turned him toward third, and shouted at him, "Run to third, Shay, run to third." Shay made it down to third, and by this time, the players on both teams were shouting, "Run home, Shay, run home." And Shay made it home, stepped on the plate, and was surrounded by his teammates who were congratulating him on hitting a grand slam and winning the game. His father, with tears in his eyes, said to the boys, "Today, you boys on both teams have made an unbelievable and unexpected accomplishment for my son. Thank you. I will never forget it." Thank you for listening.